We live in a seriously messed up world. A world in which not everything you see with your eyes or hear with your ears is what you think it is. A lot of what you see is fake, not real, illusory. Your senses tell you it's one thing or one way, but it turns out to be something entirely different. In fact, the deception can be so thick, so unbelievable, so shocking, that you probably think that the person you've been looking at for the past couple seconds is a hot chick in a bikini. It's not. This dude's name is Gregory Alan Lazzarato, better known as Gigi Gorgeous. He, who wants you to believe he's a she, is a Canadian model, actor, and internet personality.
Hey guys, it's Gigi.
Today's society wants us to call him a she. But I don't care if you cut off his wanker, pump him with estrogen, give him tits, and slap 5 pounds of Maybelline on his mug. He's still a guy. But there's a bigger picture here. There are powerful forces in this world devoting their full time on this planet to taking control of your mind, molding the way you think, shaping the way you perceive reality. They know that if they can change the way you think, they can control the way you behave. And what is behavior but merely the product and mirror of the way you think? The key is mind control. And the aim is to subtly lead people away from the bedrock of principled, objective truth. If they can do that, then it's game over. Sam Adams put it this way: a general dissolution of principles and manners will more surely overthrow the liberties of America than the whole force of the common enemy. While the people are virtuous, they cannot be subdued. But when once they lose their virtue, they will be ready to surrender their liberties to the first external or internal invader. And here we stand, a people who have collectively and in large part individually lost and are losing every last vestige of principle and virtue. And as such, many within our ranks are ready to hand over our freedoms to the next snake oil charlatan. And we can draw from our own recent history many examples where unprincipled people have been led to believe what otherwise should have been seen as absurd. Fake stream media giant ABC, for example, wants you to believe the insanity that there are 58 gender options. Some have even come up with more than that. Megyn Kelly wants you to believe that James Alefantis is an innocent victim of internet bullying as evidence continues to mount that he's involved in some extremely perverted activities. If you want to get up to speed with who James Alefantis is and why you should give a damn, click on and share this video. And I'm telling you guys, your efforts to get this video out may one day save the lives of a countless number of children. Another example is that the government wants you to believe that on the morning of September 11th, 2001, 19 men armed with box cutters, directed by a man on dialysis in a cave fortress halfway around the world using a satellite phone and a laptop, directed the most sophisticated penetration of the most heavily defended airspace in the world, overpowering the passengers and the military combat-trained pilots on 4 commercial aircraft before flying those planes wildly off course for over an hour without being molested by a single fighter interceptor. That same government wants you to believe that the leaders of the most surveilled building in the world were only able to produce a handful of grainy still shots showing an explosion but no jetliner. You want another example? While everyone knows that Bill Clinton is a woman-abusing rapist and that Hillary is a sociopathic liar and murderer, progressives still believe with all their hearts, because their minds have become so warped, that it would be the best thing for this country that 2 verifiable criminals occupy the residence at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and call the shots for the rest of us. Why? How could someone be so duped into believing something that is so obvious to the rest of us? In the video CNN will not want Trump to get his hands on, I've given ironclad examples of how the mainstream media has controlled the narrative, pushed an agenda, manufactured fake news, and even resorted to stage acting in order to deceive the masses into believing things that aren't true. You can click on this link if you missed that video. Most people believe that the Democrats and Republicans work against and are opposed to one another. But as I've conclusively proven in many videos, that this is a grand stage show like WWF wrestling, both parties are simply two sides of the same coin and two wings of the same bird of prey, controlled by the money masters who control the currencies and resources of many nations. In spite of the obvious historical fact that political leaders are parasitic sociopathic individuals who lead our people to war, rack up mounds of debt, bow to the feet of the nation's banking cartel, and remove individual freedoms, people still insist on putting their hope in a man. And they treat this man as though he were God. Shouldn't it be obvious by now that no matter who sits in the seat of the Oval Office, the position of president has been nothing more than a figurehead title? The person called president is a marionette dangling from the strings of this nation's controlling interests. Former Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan succinctly summarized this sinister arrangement.
What should be the proper relationship between a chairman of the Fed and a president of the United States?
Well, first of all, the Federal Reserve is an independent agency, and that means basically that there is no other agency of government which can overrule actions that we take. So long as that is in place and there is no evidence that the administration or the Congress or anybody else is requesting that we do things other than what we think is the appropriate thing, then what the relationships are don't frankly matter.
And as far as putting your faith in an illusion, many people believe that the paper they have in their wallets and purses is actual money, when in fact it's nothing more than a fiat currency Ponzi scheme, which derives its value from the edict of its owners, the Federal Reserve, and draws its purchasing power from the petrodollar arrangement, which is held together by the thin thread of our military's presence in the Middle East. But one of the biggest illusions we've all had to deal with in our human experience is this religiously held notion that there exists somewhere on this planet another human being who has a higher claim over your life and property than you do. That there's this group of supreme beings, collectively called the authority or government, who believe that they have the legitimate right to rule you, to tax what you earn, to take your stuff, and throw you in a cage if you disobey their arbitrary edicts. And it's not so much that there are madmen who think they can legitimately do that. History will always have its fair share of those who are given to this psychopathy. The problem is in the minds of the people. They're duped into buying this as legitimate when it isn't. They just don't stand up and say, no, this isn't right. This isn't moral. We've given ourselves to this idea that it's okay for someone to rule over us, to be our authority. It's for the good of society. We'd fall apart and there'd be blood in the streets if there was no one to lead us. We'd go back to caveman days. We'd probably be eating our children if it weren't for government. And who will build the roads? How will we have schools? Our perceived need for government. This idea that someone can legitimately rule over us is one of the biggest hoaxes of all time. No one wants another person to break into their home, help themselves to their stuff, and cage their family members. And if you think about it, that's exactly what government does. Some may say, well, I'm free and I live in the land of the free. If you think you're a free man or woman just because you're in America, try to stop paying your property taxes. Try to grow life-saving, cancer-crushing cannabis plants in your front yard. Men with guns will visit you. They will threaten you and force you to fall in line with their commands. If you disobey, they will arrest and cage you. If you continue to resist, they'll kill you. It's as simple as that. Sometimes people look at me and say, Brian, why are you so against government? And my answer is always the same. I'm against government because I'm for individuals. My question is, why do you support the illegitimate initiation of monopolized force on people who have neither harmed nor threatened to harm anyone? Government is not reason. It's not kindness. It's not consideration. It's not eloquence. It's force. And like fire, it's a dangerous servant and a fearful master. No matter what anyone says, no matter how they dress it up to look nice and acceptable, don't believe the illusion. Governments are illegitimate. Taxation is theft. And the initiation of force on individuals who have done no wrong is immoral. Guys, if you disagree with anything I said in this video, do us all a favor. Don't just dislike it and vanish. Stick around, leave a comment, and let's discuss this. We are all in this together. And the sooner we break free from our illusory thoughts, the better life will be for all of us. If you think somebody else needs to hear this message, feel free to share this video.
Hey, you guys know that light I've been testing? Well, I think I pushed it just a little bit too far this time. Check this out.